of September, our theme has been rejuvenation and refreshment, and we are revisiting our basic drawing skills. And last week I started talking about this particular book called Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain. And we are going to use some of the exercises and drawing techniques from this book. We will continue using and referring to this book throughout the month of September. I also want to talk today about another book, which those of you who have been to art school are probably more familiar with. It's called Nicolaides, The Natural Way to Draw. And I recommend this book to those of you who are really serious about drawing. I recommend this book to you as well. And it is one that I had to use way back when I was in art school. It has fantastic drawing exercises in it as well. Today, I want to spend a little bit of time recapping what we did last week, especially talking about what we didn't get to complete at the end of the last lesson. Those of you who may be new this week or who might have missed last week's lesson, I want to make sure that you know you can look on YouTube and find last week's lesson, and you will be able to watch it in its entirety to find out what you missed. But at the end of last week's lesson, we did an exercise, called Upside Down Drawing, in which we looked at a drawing by Pablo Picasso, and we literally copied the drawing, looking at the paper drawing upside down. And I wanted to know today if anyone at home or here completed the exercise, and I wanted to know, how did it feel? So is there anyone willing to share their thoughts or feelings about the process? Someone who finished it. Shuman, go ahead. And you have to speak a little louder than usual so the folks at home can hear you. How did it feel for you?
Upside down relating to what you're actually doing, that it's the hand or the face or the finger.
All right, so let's back up a minute. The image of the Picasso drawing that she was copying was a figure. It was a drawing of a person. And it was difficult for you because when you look at the picture upside down, you don't really know what you're copying. And that's the whole point of the exercise, that when you look at an image upside down, you don't know what it is. And that's why it works as a drawing exercise, because it frees your mind from naming what you are looking at. So for example, if you get to the part of the drawing that is the hand, you are allowed to lose your inhibitions or your hang-ups about drawing hands, because no longer are you looking at something that you can name as a hand. You're looking at something that is just lines and shapes. So the fact that it was difficult for you, Simon, means that you were doing the exercise properly and it was working for you. Would you be willing to come up to my camera and show folks? Bring both the Picasso drawing and your drawing and show folks what you achieved. And folks at home, if there's anyone at home who wants to talk about what they did with the upside drawing?
And beyond the frame.
Yeah, let's see if this works. So here is the Picasso drawing. And here is Shuman's quite wonderful copy. And she's kind of upset that her drawing doesn't fit within the frame. And you know what I said to her? When I did mine the first time, mine didn't fit in the frame either. And that happens to a lot of people. And it's because I haven't taught you about proportions yet. But she did extremely well, particularly copying as many and capturing as many details as she has done. I wish there was a way. Yes. Can you see both drawings side by side? So she did extremely well. And keep in mind the fact that she did it upside down. You can find this exercise in the book, Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing with us. It really works. All right. Anybody at home want to share what you've done? No one completed the exercise? Is there anyone else
I
here?
completed it.
Lizzie, you did it.
I did.
So I'm going to spotlight you. All right.
Yeah.
Pretty fantastic. Now your lines are very dark and distinct. Did you go back and make your lines darker, or is that your style?
I think it's my style. I really don't remember.
The reason I asked you that, and the reason I'm pointing it out, is because Shuman's lines are not dark. And I love that. We all have a different style of drawing. Neither are right or wrong. They just are.
Mm.
And that's something I want everyone to pay close attention to, because the fact that we can see those differences means that your own personal style is emerging, and that's a good thing. All right, you really captured the Picasso drawing well. How did it feel for you in the process, Lizzie?
It didn't seem bad. I mean, maybe because I made it small helped. I don't know.
Yours is actually smaller than the Picasso drawing itself.
Well, when I printed it out, this was the size that the printout came,
Okay.
that I could figure out.
Yeah, that might have made a difference. I'm not sure.
Mm.
When you
A little
do,
more control.
could be. When you do your own drawings, do they tend to be small?
Well, fitting on basically this size paper. I've never done like really big.
Okay, so that may also be your personal style. And maybe that's why
It's
felt
what
good to
paper
you.
I have.
But it may
But-
be your personal style.
Yeah.
Because here's another personal note about me. I took Betty Edwards' class in person with Betty Edwards. And all my life, I'd been told to draw big. When you go to art school, they give you giant pads of paper. And they tell you to draw large. And I love drawing large. But the professor, or Betty Edwards, sorry, told me, your style is to draw small. So who knew? So
Well, I
maybe
draw
your
small,
style is to draw small.
Yeah, and also because my house is small, so I can't really have any room for big.
We adapt. That's part of the artistic process, Lizzie. But your drawing is fantastic. So
Thank you. And I also bought those books by Betty, the workbook, and I didn't do anything with it yet, but also she had some book on color.
yeah, I think that's new.
Oh, yeah.
I know nothing about
I
that.
didn't get it yet, but
I know nothing about that book. You're going to have to report to us on that.
Well,
And
I
I,
don't know anything about color, so that report could take a long while. But thank you for that.
that's okay. And here's a note. I'm not following the exercises in Betty Edwards' book completely. So you may do that. I mean, I invite anyone who's purchased the book, if you want, follow along with her. Do it at your own pace because it works. Her method does work.
Well,
But-
besides that, she kind of coaches you like, when do you have time? So just sit down and do little micro times. And then it's true, then you get started and you continue.
Exactly. Yes. All right. Today, our focus is going to be to learn about shading. Shading is a very important technique in learning how to draw realistically. And those of you who have been receiving my emails know that I asked you to put together some interesting objects that you may have around your home. Those of you who are here in this class, Sally, what's up, honey? You don't need to be getting anything from over there at the moment. You can sit for now and relax. Those of you who are here, I brought in some objects for you, or you can look through what you have in your own personal bag, even your purse or backpack, whatever you have with you, and choose some objects to draw. And we are going to be looking at small objects, drawing them and using shading to recreate them in a three-dimensional way on a flat two-dimensional surface. That is the main job for today. But before we begin, I want to talk about good tools to use, good media to use for doing shading. Number one, best tool for doing shading and drawing is a number 2 pencil that you can buy in any supermarket. You want it to be well sharpened and make sure your eraser is in good shape. My second favorite thing for drawing is graphite. Graphite comes in sticks, or this is graphite crayon. You can buy this in Michael's craft store or any art supply company like Dick Blick. There's a Dick Blick right on 23rd Street between 7th and 8th Avenue. Those of you who live here near the PATH station, you can get to it really easily, or you can buy it online. And
Liz, is there a brand name on the graphite pencil?
this one is called Lyra,
How do you spell it?
Lyra.
Thank you.
And I will put it in the chat box in a minute. And the next media I'm going to hold up is charcoal. So charcoal has been a tool that artists have used for centuries for shading, and it works really well. And then finally is this tool. It's rolled paper. It's called a stump or a stumpy. And for those of you who don't like getting your fingers dirty, it's a fantastic tool for shading. All right. And I forgot to mention at the beginning of this class, we have our second favorite librarian with us today, Natalie, who is just amazing. And she's going to help me set up to do a demonstration of how to do shading. For those of you who are veterans of this, who are my more experienced artists, I'm going to recommend that you watch just to refresh yourselves and to review the good techniques for shading. Those of you at home, I'd like you to watch as well. But while you're waiting for us to set up for this review session on shading, start thinking about objects you'd like to gather from your home. The more complex the object is, the better it will be for you today. That sounds counterintuitive, but the more detailed, the more textured, the more sides the object has, the more you will be forced to observe and focus on what you are looking at. So think about what really detailed objects you may have available to you in your studio or your home. For example, something like a piece of coral that you might have collected from a beach might be good. All right, so I'm going to go off camera for a moment to set up for our demonstration. Everybody good? Any questions? Oh, let me put in the chat the name of the graphite company. It is called Lyra or Lyra. Not sure how it's pronounced.
Liz,
Yeah,
Amazon has a set of 3, and they also have 1. So the 3 is 2B, 6B, 8B, and the 1 is 8B, I think. So what would you get?
well, I'd probably buy the set of 3 so you can play around and experiment with the different kinds of pencils.
Great, thanks.
You're welcome. All right, so Natalie, can we set up here? Do a demonstration. Oh, and Lauren, our favorite researcher, says chapter 10 of the textbook covers shading in negative state. Thank you, Lauren. So we're really jumping ahead. That's how good we are. So we're already set up for the demonstration. Natalie is just a genius. Technology, thanks, Natalie. So they can see my hand. That's excellent. Yeah. All right, so things are either flat, 2-dimensional, or rounded, 3-dimensional, correct? In order to make something rounded on a flat 2-dimensional surface, you have to be able to see that it is 3D. And how do we do that? It's because it is hit by light, either from above or from one side or the other. Sometimes it's flooded by light from all sides. And today, it's going to be your job to see how light is affecting the object that you are trying to draw. So, for example, I'm going to draw something from my imagination, which you should never do, but just for this demonstration, I'm going to think about an apple sitting on a table in a sunlit room. The light is coming from the upper left-hand side. Up. Our genius student Alice actually had an apple that she brought with her to class. The lighting in here is not so great, so we can pretend that the light is coming from the upper left. Can't see the apple in the picture. What about me? Perfect. So it's rounded, correct? One way, if I were to say to you, draw an apple, you might draw it like this. Nothing wrong with that drawing. Looks like an apple, right? You read it as an apple. But does it look three-dimensional? Not really. Folks at home, you may not even be able to see it. Let me make it dark. It looks like an apple. We know in our mind that it's an apple, but it doesn't look real. Why? Because it's flat. It's not three-dimensional. How can I achieve that quality? And the answer is through shade. Here's how. If you notice in this first drawing I made, it's an outline. Dark outline flattens things. When I draw with shading, I try not to use line at all, but I try to see the shadow that is created by light. There are a bunch of ways to make shadow. With the pencil, you can create shadow with the side of the pencil. Notice I am not holding the pencil straight up and down so I can use the point. I am holding it on its side so that I can rub it and make shadow. Everybody at home, can you see that? Yes. You can also create shadow with a technique called cross-hatching by laying down lines crossing over each other. The darker the shadow, the more lines you make, and the closer together you make them. This is how I really truly love to make shadow when I do my own drawings, but it's very labor intensive. It takes a lot of time. And if you are beginning this study of doing shading, I wouldn't recommend doing it. So the best way to do shading is with the side of the pencil. All right. So here I have my apple. I want to notice how the light is hitting the form of this beautiful, it's like a perfect apple. It's not round at all. Kind of a chunky, squarish guy. Can you see that the form of the apple is starting to emerge? Hope so, because that's what I'm trying to achieve. I'm not using any line at all. Just using shading. Create the form. And because the form of the apple is curved, my shadow is also curved. See, it is curved like the edges of the apple. And it's a little bit darker underneath. Because that's how the light is hitting it. Now, I like to use my finger to blend the shadow. And this is a key point about shading. You want to blend. Stump is a good tool for blending. If you don't blend from dark to light, your object will look flat. So, for example, if I made an apple like this, see, my apple's really dark on the right-hand side, but very light on this side. Still gonna look flat. But if I blend the shadow, remember to put shadow underneath the object and a little bit behind, it will start looking three-dimensional. You cannot go from very dark to very light without blending. If you have it super dark, in other words, if it's like a stripe of darkness, and the edge between dark and light is very distinct like this, it tends to flatten shape out. You need to blend from dark to light. You can even draw with the shadow itself. All right. Now, I did all of this with a regular number 2 pencil. The other material media that I mentioned, graphite crayon. It's a little bit softer than pencil and it blends easier, so you can experiment with that. I love graphite crayon. There's also graphite pencil and charcoal. Now, these are brand new charcoal sticks, so I invite you to break them. Charcoal, the beauty of charcoal is it's very dark. But remember, when you have dark, you need to use the stump or your finger to blend. Tissue also works well for blending. All right, any questions about shading? Let's begin. I would like you to try at least 3 objects, arrange them in front of you so that they touch each other. Make like a little mini still life of your own. Of this. This is called the stump. You can probably only buy the stump in an art supply store. This is a graphite crayon. Lisa is Zira. And this is charcoal. Very well. So I brought in objects, or you could look in your bag and find some things to use. Thanks, Natalie. Woo-hoo, 3 cheers for Natalie. Hey. That's this graphite frame. Yeah, there are not very many of them. There are like 3 or 4 of the graphite frame. They're in a white box. No. Let's go to an art supply store. Maybe Michael's. Yeah, the graphite frames are here. Here, try this one. Graphite frames, they're all the rest are going. Yes. That's the skunk. Yeah, this is the charcoal here. Oh, and here's another recommendation. Put a piece of white paper underneath your objects. It will make the shadow a little bit more dramatic. Did everybody hear me?
Yes.
Another extra piece of white paper. Those of you at home, you could put a piece of white cloth underneath. And those of you at home, if you have a candle, you could light a candle to create some dramatic lighting near your objects. Or if you have a bright, tiny bright light, or you could use the flashlight on your phone. Folks here could do that too. You could spotlight your objects with your phone. And we are going to do this first drawing for, what time is it, please? 10:40. We're going to do this first drawing for 10 minutes, and then we're going to change our objects. So this is a 10-minute drawing. Try not to use any lines, only shading. That is your challenge. Oh, thank you, Natalie has been putting my tips in the chat box. Natalie, I'm going to follow you to the ends of the earth. I did, and try and make them touch. You might want to. You might want to turn this thing around. Never thought of using the light on your phone.
Oh, there I get some shadow. Oops.
I mean, it's going to run your battery down, but that's the problem. I'm wondering if you could dim the lights a little bit now, that might create some kind of shadow in here. Unfortunately, this kind of artificial lighting is the worst. You know, it's too dark, obviously. Yes, we're trying to make a little bit more dramatic lighting for you. Yeah, it's okay. We'll do the best we can. We'll try and draw all 3. Try and let go of it being difficult. I don't care what the drawing looks like. The drawing is not important to me. This is an exercise, like warming up to play soccer. Okay? This is something you can crumple up and throw away when you're done. This is not making a masterpiece. So let that go. We're not making a work of art to frame and hang above your mantelpiece. You're lucky enough to hire. We're learning how to look at what's in front of you. Those of you who do dance, this is like warming up at the bar. It's just a warm-up exercise. Those of you at home, I hope you understand, this is a warm-up exercise. You do not learn how to draw realistically in one lesson. And oh no, it takes practice. Like learning how to sew, like learning how to speak French, like learning how to bake a cake, like learning how to use the internet, like learning anything new. You need to practice your skills. Remember to look at the objects, not so much at your drawing. Failed to mention to folks here, I put the upside down drawing pictures back there in case you want to take another one home with you to do at home. They're available for you to take another. You can see the shadows in the object that the lines today. Shadows underneath. To be same again. There your hands over and over and over again. Doing really well. There. Unfortunately, most of the shadows. Lose yourself or change it. Try not to say, I can't do this. Try to say, I'm doing well. Because you are. Everybody at home, did you hear me on that? Try for a change to praise yourself. Self-praise is refreshing. And it's a good thing. So there's only 3 more minutes on this drawing. Accomplish whatever you can. Just by the act of looking and really focusing on what's in front of you, you are an artist. Using your eyes in this way makes you an artist. You can't deny it, you can't fight it, you just are. The act of looking and observing makes you an artist. Even if you tell yourself you can't be, you are. How is Robin doing, Natalie? Did she manage to get in? She always has a problem with her audio.
I got the sound, Liz.
Okay.
I just reopened it and it worked.
Okay, good. I'm glad. Thanks for letting us know. All right, 1 more minute on this drawing. All right, so this drawing is finished. What I want you to do now, if you use objects that I brought in, please return them to the back shelf. For the next drawing, you're going to choose an object that you do not like looking at. Those of you at home, try and find an object that you wouldn't in a million years choose to draw. Something that you maybe pass by every single day in your home that you find troubling to look at. I don't know what that might be. Something that you wish you never purchased, maybe. Or something that you must use every day that you wish you never had to use. An object like that. Again, the more complex it is, the better it will be for you to draw, because the more it engages your mind and your eye. But you must change the object that you're looking at. Lisa and Shirley, no. No. Put the objects back. Sally, no, we are not swapping objects. No, we're not swapping objects. We are returning objects. I want something totally different now. You cheated. Sally, put it back on the shelf. Sally, put it away. No, we're not swapping. You're putting it back, kid. And you too, Lisa, put it back on the shelf. I'm watching you, Sally. You're so cute. No cheating. I want you to find something that you do not like looking at now. And I won't take it personally. We're having a folks at home, we're having a war here. It's just like my kindergartners. And I want you to find a fresh piece of paper as well, or flip what you're using over. For those of you who like to conserve paper, I want you to hide that drawing. I don't want you to look at the drawing you were just looking at. No. Mm-mm.
You're mean.
I'm a toughie. I don't want any distractions. Don't start drawing yet. Mm-mm. No, do not start drawing in this drawing yet. Put the old drawing away. Turn it over so you can't see it. You need a clean piece of paper, Lisa. Clean. Turn it over. You use the back. Yeah, that's good. Okay. People at home, are you ready for the next one? We are going to do a blind contour. Remember what that is? Sarah, blind contour means you're going to do one continuous line on your paper. You will not stop drawing until I say stop. You're not going to start till I say go. And no erasing. I'm going to show you. I'm going to come and show you. Is there anyone else who wasn't here last week? Natalie, I think we have to do a demo. Sorry. I just realized there are a couple of people who weren't here last week, and we have a new student at home. So I'm going to do a demonstration of this. Hold on, everyone, because we all have to start at once at the same time on this. And I'm going to need a chair. Yeah, I'm going to review blind contour. Those of you who may not remember or not know. So I'm going to take a second, Natalie, setting up the camera. I'm getting pencil and paper. So today I'm mixing it up because we are doing exercises to keep your hands limber, to keep your mind awake, and to refresh your ability to do your drawing skills. So line contour. My body is turned so it's parallel to the edge of the table. And that is because I don't want to look at my paper. Just want to look at my object. The object I'm drawing right now is my hand. You can sit with whatever you've chosen to draw in your hand, like this. When I say go, you are going to draw. And you are going to draw one continuous line without stopping, without lifting your pencil from the page. You're going to draw the lines and shapes and dots and dashes and whatever you see in the object you've chosen to draw. No shadows. No shadow in this one. And this is because this is going to release your inhibitions. It's going to stop that negative self-chat of I can't do, I don't want to do. This allows you to relax and focus on what you're looking at. And you're not going to stop till I say stop. And you're not going to look at your paper. And when you're done, it's going to look like a bunch of scribbles. And that's fine. But it's going to help you with your next shading drawing. All right? Any questions? I don't care how much you hate me. Does not matter where you start an object you're looking at. Really doesn't matter at all. All right, folks at home, you're good to go. Any questions?
No.
All right, so we're going to do this for. Okay, we're going to do this for. What time is it? We're going to do it for. Give me a second here. 1 minute, begin. Shh, no talking. Shh, shh, shh. Stop. So that is our line contour. Now, I want you to recreate this object using shading. We're going to go back to the other techniques that we were using and try and do this object, but only using shadow. Now you're going to draw this same object using shadow only. Begin. And we'll do this one now for 15 minutes. You can now look at it, but try not to use line. You are looking, you are trying to recreate it with shading and making it three-dimensional. Good, but it's good. Okay. to you. It's up to you. Decide you want this. Again, we're not creating a Michelangelo piece here. We're still doing exercises. I mean, I went to art school for a million years. If I created one drawing in all the years I went to art school that I liked, it was a lot. It's all about practice. Those of you who drive, did you learn how to drive the first time you got behind the wheel of a car? Yeah, I don't think so. I sure didn't. To do something well, you must persist. The good things in life take time to achieve. Fantastic drawings. You can see dark shadow underneath. Don't forget to do it because that's really something that helps the object with 3D. So I can't emphasize that enough.
When you cross hatch, can you then, on top of that, use the stump to shade it, or do you just leave that alone?
Sorry, can you repeat that, please? I didn't hear you.
When you cross hatch to create the shading, do you then use the stump to go over it, or you leave it as is?
With cross hatching, you do not blend.
Ah, okay.
It's a matter of experimenting with how many lines to use. It's a challenge. I frequently, when I'm using cross hatching, I find that I've gone too far in the direction of darkness. You can't really correct that.
Okay.
So with any shading, you want to start light and add the dark gradually.
Okay.
All right, does that help? Start.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. So start with fewer lines when you're doing cross hatching. Add more lines very gradually.
Okay.
I hope that helps. To whom
It
am
does,
I
thank you.
speaking? To whom am I speaking?
Talene,
Who?
Talene.
Oh, Talene. Oh,
Yes.
welcome back. It's been a while.
Oh, yes, it's been a really long time.
I'm so glad to welcome you back.
Yes, thank you.
I think that's a lot of people. minutes do we have left on this particular? We have 7 minutes left on this drawing. If you feel like you've finished, I invite you to go back and look again. And if you feel like you've finished completely, I want you to start a new one with the same object. Stop. So good question. Yes. Sharon, yes, it's more like the real shadow. And I would do it right up to the end. This line is a key. I thought the line. And here it's so dark, it would run up. Right, I think the time is up on this one. Now, we're going to do another blind contour, this time of your hand. So you need, flip your paper over if it's clean on the other side. And we're going to do a warm up with blind contour. If you need to get another piece of paper, I'm going to give you a minute. Those of you who are here to go get paper, bless you. Those of you at home, we'll give you a minute.
Lauren, how are you? Quick question.
Sure.
You said not to use hard lines when you're shading. I was just doing a simple light bulb on my paper, literally. So I'm just getting shadowing of it. But instead of being able to kind of draw around it, I just drew it. But I wasn't able to not use hard lines, so to speak. I did shade it, but is it okay to use some reference type lines in this exercise, or are you really just trying to draw around it?
I would prefer you just try and use shadow.
Okay.
Yeah. So a light bulb on white paper, it's got to be really difficult, Lauren, unless you have super dramatic lighting.
I mean, the lighting is fairly dramatic, but it's on it's brown paper, so I'm using charcoal and white charcoal, or graphite and white charcoal. Is that cool?
That's very cool.
Okay, killer. Thanks, gorgeous.
No. Thank you. All right, so get comfortable. We're going to do a blind contour of your hand. Everyone at home ready? I'm assuming yes. And this one's going to be for 3 minutes. Waiting for folks here to get set up and begin. Don't stop till I say stop. Don't look at your paper. Only your hand. Look at all the tiny crevices. Even you young people have lots of lines in your hand. Try and slow down. Slow your hand, slow your mind, slow your eyes. Don't stop. Stop. again. If you're laughing and giggling, that's a good thing, because that means you've got a message of silliness on your paper. And that's awesome. All right, so Natalie, I need the camera one last time. Folks at home, we're setting the camera up one last time, and I'm going to talk about something called negative space. Negative space is something that artists use in order to help them see positive space. But we need the camera in order for me to talk about it. It's going to take 1 second. Natalie's just awesome at this. All right, so here's a stool on an everyday stool. So this is a stool. It's solid, right? It is a positive, hard, three-dimensional object. However, it has a lot of what artists call negative space, right? Areas where I can stick my arm through that are useful to be aware of, know about, and think about. If you can start seeing this negative space, it will enable you to draw positive space and shape better. Look at this chair. Betty Edwards uses chairs in her book as well. This exercise. Chairs have a lot of negative space. It's the way they're built, and the way they're designed. If you can look at them in that way and see this negative space, it enables you to see and draw their positive shapes better and to understand their positive shape better. Could you draw the negative space? what artists start to do and see and learn is to draw the negative space. Those of you who've been drawing with me for years, when we draw the figure, what is one of the first things I say to you? Look at that great negative space in that pose. Like if Bill is standing here modeling for us, I go, wow, look at that negative shape. Use it in your drawing. This is why. So for the next drawing, let me get a piece of paper and pencil. I'm not going to ask you to draw chairs yet. And I don't know if we're going to have time to draw chairs today. I'm going to ask you with shading and lines to create a drawing of negative spaces. Where do I move it? No. This way, you're going to draw a frame. And in the frame, you're going to draw some interesting shapes. And they can be based on plant shapes, or if you like geometric shapes. I want them to be kind of complicated. And at least 3 of them. And you want them to touch the edges of the frame. Then I want you to use the shading techniques and shade them in. Because this will help you to decide for yourself what is positive for you and what is negative shade. Everybody understand? And you can use charcoal or graphite or pencil and the stumps if you are lucky enough to get one. But my hypothesis may become a challenge. If you've never thought about positive and negative shape and space, it's going to become something challenging for you. But it is a way to help you start thinking about the shapes in the world, in the actual world, that are positive and negative. Another space, see a lot of positive and negative shapes. Nature, think about trees in the wintertime with no leaves. Between the branches, there's a lot of positive, negative space going on. So it's something very helpful and useful for artists to understand and think about and see around them. Any questions about this next exercise? You have to decide for yourself. So this is a little bit challenging. So you're creating your own shapes within the picture frame. Let me show you again. You're going to draw a frame. Try not to intellectualize and think about it too much. In the frame, you're going to create at least 3 shapes that touch the edge of the frame and touch at least once each other. Then you're gonna start shading them in. Decide which is positive and which is negative. So you're not looking at anything in this exercise. This is all from your imagination. Stand now. And I asked Natalie to get paper towel because if you don't have a stump, you can use paper towel to fill in and blend your shade. Have fun. You do more than 3 or 4 shades, it may become too confusing. So don't make too many shades. Try. And if it doesn't work, don't beat yourself up. You're learning. You need a frame. You need to do the picture frame. See? Picture frame around the outside, or it won't work. You don't have the picture frame stuff. And there are rulers back there if you want to use a ruler. Everyone at home, you heard the directions? You're good?
Yes, yes, I'm good.
Okay. So you're gonna need a couple more shades. You can see already. So you might want to close off here. You're gonna shade it. Yes, shade in the whole. You can always add more shades if it helps. Help you filling, it just will make it faster. Oh. No, and this one you want to keep it distinct and sharp. Always add more shades. Okay. They feel internal. For me, negative shades are inside. See, this is inner. But that's me. Everybody is. They're inner. I think. Inner. One you chose to fill in already for me is an inner. Like if I were going inside a tunnel. Shape. interior one. Yes. I guess I had to intellectualize it. Yes. Well, but that's okay, because you've never done this. Of course. Wanted to find out when you're done. But I do this with children. I do it with Sharpie. I do it really flat because they love how it looks. It's very dramatic and very abstract. Yes, you might have to add shape here, right? Because you have a conflict. So love it. Yeah. I love it. How are we doing at home? It can be a struggle.
Right.
If you need to, you can add a few shapes. I don't know if you heard. For me, the negative shapes are interior shapes, as if you were entering inside into a tunnel. I don't know if that helps. Bit of feedback. I'm not sure why. Does anyone at home have two devices on, perhaps? Natalie, maybe we don't have, no, we don't have both cameras on anymore. No, so it's not us. Seems to have stopped. So we'll give this drawing a couple more minutes. And then we're going to do our final drawing. We're going to go back to looking at objects. And I want you to find 3 truly cherished objects, 3. It's going to be harder for folks who are here in person, but 3 objects that you really like looking at, whether it's from inside your purse or objects you brought from home or objects that I brought. And we will just finish up with a drawing where you can combine what you know about line and shading. And I will repeat those directions in 1 more minute when we're done with this drawing. All right, so I'm hoping that everyone has a kind of a terrific turn of the century, 20th century abstraction, very dramatic, dark and light image that they've created. And so for our final drawing, I want you to use line, shading, and perhaps you're now going to see a bit of positive, negative shape as well in the objects that you're going to draw. So, but now I want you to choose 3 objects that you find really, really, really appealing to look at. 3 objects that you enjoy spending time with. And this will be our final drawing. And that will bring us almost to the close of class. And I'll take a poll to see if people want to share at the end. I'm, as usual, struggling with some kind of allergy thing in my throat today. Any questions? Everybody get the final directions? All right, you may begin. Sarah, I love that you have a camera right on your hand, so I can see exactly what you're doing. I wish I could be able to see everyone in that way. Although I can't actually see the lines that you're creating. That's better. It is one of the frustrations of Zoom teaching that I can't be right there with you. Oh, thank you. Natalie, you did that, right? It's wonderful. Great job, Sarah. So on this one, you can start using lines, but I want you to complete your drawing using shading. I want the object to look as 3-dimensional as possible. else now is on camera? Who's this person? Lauren, okay, cool. Yeah, there's a way for you to position your camera, those of you who are at home, so I can actually watch you working. It's really helpful to me. Yes, great. You're both starting, Sarah and Lauren are starting with line and then working in with the shading. Great beginnings. I think, you know what? I just had this brainwave. I think Zoom could really expand their business if with a subscription, they could supply people with a camera and a tripod. You know, hello, I should be marketing for Zoom. Wouldn't that be cool? Of course, no one would ever leave their home then. That would be the downside. Shade. Shade. It's great. Start using shade. Drawing is great. Start using shade. Lauren, don't be afraid to keep getting darker, okay? Your form is building beautifully, but you can get a little darker, okay? Use your dirty fingers. Like pretend you're working with clay and just mold the form with your fingers. There you go. Yeah, work it in. But you don't want isolated spots of dark. Keep blending and molding as if you were working with clay. Good. Good, Sarah, I'm loving it. You too can start getting a little darker at the edges of the flowers. Yes.
Okay. Hello. Hello, lady.
I'm sorry, what time is it? It's 12 o'clock. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, guys. It's 12. I was having such a good time watching everybody draw. Yikes. So we don't have time to share. So you know what? Next class, we're going to start by sharing. But I was having so much pleasure watching you guys. Let me tell you, the drawings that you've been creating are just exquisite. You have no idea how much you've accomplished today. But I'm telling you, you've come a long way. In 2 hours, just by doing positive, negative shape and learning the techniques of shading and revisiting the techniques of shading. Bravo. So I'm sorry, I have to say goodbye. And I hope to see you all next week, and we will do more drawing skills. Probably next week, we're going to start talking about perspective, which is my least favorite thing to teach, but it's incredibly important. All right. Bravo, everyone.
Have a great week, everybody.
And
Thank
we-
you.
Thank you very
We will
much.
begin next class with sharing if you wish. Bye, everyone. Great job.